Fellas, I think there's currently a lot of problems with the UFC rankings. A lot of fighters that don't really deserve their ranking spot, or some fighters that should deserve to be ranked higher that just aren't. So I'm going to be going through every single weight class rankings and picking out little bits during the rankings that I completely disagree with. Some fighters that just don't deserve that ranking spot, and just problems that I have with the rankings. Now, I do want to clarify, this is being filmed before the ranking change of UFC Paris, so even though it's going to be uploaded on the Tuesday, it is going to be uploaded, well, it is uploaded and filmed before the UFC Paris rankings have changed, so I'm not going to be talking about any fighters that have really competed on UFC Paris. But the flyweight division, this is the only division I don't really have a problem with. I don't really have a major problem with any of the rankings. I think you could argue that Kai France could be above Amir Albazi, but I understand why he's above him. So I don't really have any problems with the flyweight division. The bantamweight division. My problem with the bantamweight division is Jose Aldo being all the way at number 10. I think that's criminal to have Jose Aldo all the way at number 10 in the bantamweight rankings. And I think Marlon Vera and Rob Font should be ranked below Jose Aldo. The first main reason, Aldo has literally beaten both of them. He's beaten Rob Font a couple of years ago, and he beat Marlon Vera a few years ago. How is he ranked below them? I don't understand. So I think that's the first main reason why this is so crazy. And on top of that, he recently got a win over Jonathan Martinez, and he beat Pedro Munoz on top of that. So I think he should be ranked above Marlon Vera and Rob Font, considering he's literally beaten them both, and he's coming off a win, whereas both of those are coming off a loss. And his only losses right now, well, recently in the bantamweight division, have come to Peter Yan and Merab. Merab's a champion, and Peter Yan was a former champion as well. So those are his only two losses in the UFC. Well, not in the UFC, but in the bantamweight division recently. I don't think he should be ranked number 10 for that. I think he's done a lot more in the division than those guys. And you look at Marlon Vera and Rob Font. You look at Rob Font. His best wins are Cody Garbrandt, not ranked. Marlon Moraes, not even in the UFC anymore. And Ricky Simon, not ranked. Those are his best wins in the bantamweight division. And you look at the guys he's lost to. He's lost to Sandhagen. He's lost to Figueiredo. He's lost to Aldo. He's lost to Pedro Munoz. And he's lost to Marlon Vera. How is he ranked above Aldo, considering he's even lost to him as well? I don't understand how he's managed to get ranked above Jose Aldo. Marlon Vera. Okay, you beat Dominic Cruz. He's ranked number 14th. You beat Pedro Munoz. It was a very close fight. You beat Rob Font and you beat Frankie Edgar, and you've lost to Figueiredo. Again, you've lost to Jose Aldo, who you ranked above. You've lost to Sandhagen, and you've lost to Song Yadong. How are these guys all ranked above Jose Aldo? I think the ranking should be Marlon Vera at number 9, Rob Font at number 10, which is even generous for Rob Font at this rate. And I think Jose Aldo should be all the way at number 7. You could even argue that he should be above Henry Cejudo, and I think the only way to settle that would have been to do Cejudo versus Aldo at UFC 307, but for some reason the UFC have been so hellbent on making Aldo versus Mario Bautista, which I'm not going to complain about the fight itself. I think it's going to be good, but it doesn't really make sense from a rankings perspective, so I think Aldo should be number 7. Him being at number 10, considering what he's done and who he's beaten in the bantamweight division, is criminal. And I think Rob Font should be at 10 and Marlon Vera at 9. Those guys are way too generous, has been way too gifted with their ranking spots. So I think Aldo should be at 7, just behind Cejudo, maybe even above Cejudo if you want to, go that far. And then for the featherweight division, my first problem is I think Yair Rodriguez should be ranked a little bit below number 4, because what is Yair Rodriguez actually done in the UFC? He beat Josh Emmett, good win. You beat Korean Zombie by like a split second going, and you beat BJ Penn. Those are Yair Rodriguez's best wins in the UFC, and he's lost to Volkanovski. He's lost to Max Holloway. Okay, they're the best, but he also lost to Brian Ortega. So I don't understand how Brian Ortega's ranked number 5 below Yair Rodriguez, considering Yair Rodriguez's last fight was him getting submitted by Brian Ortega. And I know he's got a win over Brian Ortega, but that was an injury win where he literally got injured and had to force quit during the fight. So I think Brian Ortega should be above Yair Rodriguez, considering he's literally beaten him before. And I also think you could argue that Arnold Allen and Movsar Evloev could also be above Yair Rodriguez. I mean, Arnold Allen, he's beaten Giga Chikadze, Sadiq Youssef. He beat Dan Hooker. I know Dan Hooker's now in a different weight class, but he came down and he finished Hooker in the first round. And he beat Calvin Kattar. I know Calvin Kattar hurt himself during the fight, but he still finished him. And he's lost to Max Holloway, fair enough, and he also lost to Movsar Evloev. And even Movsar Evloev could be ranked above Yair Rodriguez. He's undefeated in the UFC. He's beaten Diego Lopez, who's now a top 3 fighter. He's beaten Arnold Allen, who's a top 5 fighter, or should be. And he's beaten Dan Ige. I think all of those guys should be ranked above Yair Rodriguez. I think Yair Rodriguez, even though it might seem a big drop, should be all the way at number 7. You've beaten Josh Emmett, who's ranked number 8th. And that's literally your only win right now in the rankings of the featherweight division, and you've lost to Volkanovski, Holloway, and Brian Ortega by finish. So even being above Brian Ortega is criminal in my opinion. So I think, I think Yair Rodriguez should be at number 7, Allen should be at 6, and Evloev should be at 5. And then for the lightweight division, my first problem with the lightweight division, it's not a massive problem, but I think Michael Chandler being at 6 is quite generous. I can understand why he's done it. He beat Dan Hooker, who's now ranked number 5, but I'm pretty sure Chandler was ranked number 6 when Hooker was ranked all the way at like 12th or 11th before he even beat Gamrot. And he beat Tony Ferguson, who's on one of the biggest losing streaks in UFC history. He's lost to Oliveira by finish, he's lost to Poirier by finish, and he lost to Justin Gaethje. Again, I don't think it's crazy that he's ranked number 6. I get it, he's beaten Dan Hooker, but I think that's very generous to Chandler, considering he's not really got any major good wins in the UFC so far. And I also think Max Holloway being at 9 is, again, something that I really don't understand. In my opinion, he should either be ranked above Justin Gaethje or he shouldn't be ranked at all in the lightweight division. I don't think you can kind of half-arse it and put him at number 9. I think Holloway should be above. I think Holloway should be all the way at number 3, and everybody else should be moved down a slot. I mean, he's literally just beaten Justin Gaethje by KO. One of the most brutal KOs of the year when he just knocked out Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. That was his last fight. That was Gaethje's last fight. So for Gaethje being at 3 and Holloway being at 10 or 9, I think it's crazy. And I get it, he lost to Dustin Poirier, but that was years ago, and that was like a short notice move up in weight. So I think Holloway should be all the way at number 3, or just don't include him in the rankings at all if you don't think he's a serious lightweight contender. And then for the welterweight division, my first problem is Colby Covington being at number 5. What has Colby Covington done to earn that number 5 ranking as a top 5 fighter in the welterweight division? You beat Masvidal, not in the UFC anymore. You beat Woodley, who was on a losing streak, not even in the UFC anymore. You beat Robbie Lawler, not even in the UFC anymore. You beat Rafael dos Anjos, he's ranked in a different division at number 14th. You beat Damian Maia, not even in the UFC anymore. These are your last 5 wins in the UFC, and you're still a top 5 welterweight with, like I said, Audier being the only ranked guy you've beaten, and he's ranked in a completely different weight class. Not even to mention the fact that he's lost to Usman twice, one of them by finish, and he lost to Leon Edwards in his last fight. He hasn't beaten any ranked welterweights right now. So in my opinion, number 5 is a completely generous spot to Colby Covington. I don't think he should be number 5. And I think Ian Garry and Sean Brady could be ranked above Colby Covington as well. I mean, Sean Brady, he's had some good wins in the UFC. He got a really good win over Gilbert Burns in his last fight, which automatically should put him above Colby Covington. And he's beaten Jake Matthews, Kelvin Gastelum, and Michael Chiesa. I know they're not great wins, but he's still got some good wins on his name as well. And I think he should be ranked above Colby. And his only losses to Bilal Muhammad, who's the current welterweight champion in the world, has been able to do that to everyone in the division. So I don't think Sean Brady should be ranked below him. And even Ian Garry, I know you're going to hate on Ian Garry because it's Ian Garry, but even he's had a lot more impressive wins than Colby Covington. He beat MVP, ranked. Jeff Neal, ranked. Neil Magny, ranked. And before that, he rendered Daniel Rodriguez unconscious before he got a ranked fighter. So I think even Ian Garry should be ranked above him. So I think the ranking so far should be Sean Brady in the top 5 or Ian Garry in the top 5. One of those at top 5 and one of those at 6. And Colby Covington should be all the way at 7. The dude's last win was Masvidal all the way back in 2022. How was he managed to become ranked from that? So I think Colby Covington should be ranked at number 7. I think number 5 is generous. Again, considering he did just lose to Leon Edwards and he lost to Usman twice as well. So I think Colby should be all the way at 7. And then we've got the middleweight division. My first problem with the middleweight division is why is Jared Cannonier ranked below Marvin Vettori? I think Jared Cannonier has done enough to be ranked above Marvin Vettori. Why? Because he literally beat Marvin Vettori in Vettori's last fight. He butchered Marvin Vettori last time they fought, or the first time they fought, and I think that automatically should put him above Marvin Vettori. Not to mention, he's also beaten Sean Strickland. I get it. It was a close fight, but he still beat him. He finished Brunson, he beat Jack Kamanton, and he beat Kelvin Gastelum. And he has had a couple of losses. He lost to number 5 Barallo, Imavov, who's a top contender and one of the greatest middleweights of all time, Adesanya, when Adesanya was champion. What has Vettori done? Okay, he's had some good middleweight wins. He beat Roma Delite, he beat Paulo Costa, he beat Jack Kamanton, and he beat Kevin Holland. Those are some good wins, but you've lost to Jared Cannonier. That should be the first main reason why you're ranked below Cannonier. And he also lost to Adesanya, and he lost to Robert Whittaker as well. So I think the ranking should be Jared Cannonier being above Marvin Vettori. I think that's the only real problem I have with the middleweight rankings right now. Cannonier literally butchered Vettori last year. It wasn't even competitive. The dude was setting records on him. Why he's ranked below him because he's taken a couple of losses, I don't understand. And then for the light heavyweight division, the first problem I have with the light heavyweight division, it's not really a big problem, it's just a slight issue I have, is I think Bogdan Guskov could be ranked above Dominic Reyes. You look at he's 2-1 in the UFC. He lost to Volkan Oezdemir, who's ranked number 6, and he finished Ryan Spann as well, whereas Dominic Reyes got finished by Ryan Spann. He also lost to Jan Blachowicz before that. He also lost to Yuri Prohaska before that, and he lost to John Jones, but technically, I think MMA fans, I think we all agree that John Jones should have not have won that fight, so I guess, you give Dominic Reyes that, and he is a legend, so I think maybe Bogdan Guskov could be ranked above Dominic Reyes if we're talking about what they've done recently, and I know Reyes has just beaten Jacoby, but it's Jacoby at the end of the day. The dude's barely even scraping or getting near to the rankings, so I think, Bogdan could be above Reyes, and my main problem is what has Alexander Rakic done to be ranked top 5 in the light heavyweight division? Alexander Rakic's best wins is Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos. One of them is one of the most washed ranked dudes in the UFC. And one dude's not even in the UFC anymore. Those were his best wins, Smith and Thiago Santos. Why is he ranked above, or why is he ranked in the top 5? Not to mention he's lost to Jan Blachowicz, Jiri Prochazka, and Volkan Oezdemir. So first of all, I don't understand how Volkan Oezdemir is ranked below him as anyway. So I think Volkan Oezdemir should be in the top 5 now. I think he's earned it, especially with his recent win over Johnny Walker. I even think Nikita Krylov has had a much more impressive UFC career than Alexander Rakic. Rakic's best win to Smith, who's ranked 12th, and Thiago Santos, who's not even in the UFC anymore. Okay, you beat Jiri in the first round, then got finished in the second. You know what I mean? He should be ranked number 7th, in my opinion. I don't see what he's done to get in the top 5. I know he got injured against Jan Blachowicz, but at the end of the day, I don't think we should all just, pity Alexander Rakic and give him a top 5 ranking for looking good in losses. He lost the fights, put him at number 7. And then for the heavyweight division, I think there's one problem that everyone has. John Jones ain't the champion. Tom Aspinall's the champion. You tell me who you think should be the champion. John Jones, who's got one heavyweight win over Cyril Gane, or Tom Aspinall, whose best heavyweight wins are over Curtis Blades, Alexander Volkov, Sergey Pavlovich, Sergey Spivak, Marcin Tybura, and Andrei Arlovski. And by the way, John Jones is ducking Tom Aspinall, as everyone knows. So I think Tom Aspinall should be the real champion, not John Jones. And my other problem is, what has Rodrigo Nascimento done to become ranked? I get it, it's quite easy to become a ranked fighter in the heavyweight division in comparison to others, but this dude's record, I mean, he's lost twice in the UFC, and he couldn't even beat, he's lost twice in the UFC, he recently lost to Derek Lewis. This dude's best wins are Don'Tale Mayers twice. He finished in the first time, then got gifted him again to get a free win, and he's managed to become ranked from that, despite just losing to Derek Lewis. In my opinion, Waldo Cortez Acosta should be ranked. The dude has a much more fresh UFC career than him. His only losses to Marcos Rogero de Lima, another ranked fighter, and he's on a 3-fight winning streak. He just beat Rebelis de Spain. Before that, he beat Andrei Arlovski, and I don't see why he's having to be, not necessarily punished, but I don't see why he's having to fight Chris Barnett on top of all that. So I think the ranking should look like this. Tom Aspinall's the real champion. John Jones, you can give him that number 1 spot above Cyril Gane. And Waldo Cortez Acosta, in my opinion, has done enough to become ranked above Rodrigo Nascimento. But that is my opinions and, disagreements with the current rankings of the UFC. Some weight classes have bigger ranking problems than others, like the flyweight division has nothing wrong with it, in my opinion, whereas others have big problems. So let me know your thoughts on the rankings, and if you agree or disagree with my takes on the rankings. Thank you for watching.